Right, on to this tactics and showcase video. I have the Blood Angels Codex here, but we'll be focusing in on one of the Space Marine units, and that's the Stormraven Gunship. On the channel here, I've been using them for the Blood Angels. James has Stormravens for his Ultramarines as well. But in this video, we'll take a look at the model, showcase the model here painted up for Blood Angels, and then using this codex as a reference, we'll then take a look at the unit itself, the stats, the upgrades, the options, tactics, all of those things there to help you get the most out of this key unit here. It's a flyer, but it does so much more. It's one of the dependable units that I use. The Blood Angels, one of the most strategically, one of the most important units that I have for firepower, transportation as well. And it is a key unit, so that's what we're going to focus in this episode, the Stormraven Gunship. So, there's a big model. I'll maybe take it off the base here, just so you can get a view of the model. Now, standard flyer base, the rocks and stones on there, and then underneath is a huge piece of lead, a flat piece of lead. That's the stuff that they use on roofs, but it cuts out just nice and fits nicely in the base and doesn't stick out. I've just used some glue in there to hold it in position, but that's a nice bit of weight to that, and that just weighs that whole model down, so there's no danger of that. That's very hard to tip that over. A lot of weight behind that with the lead in the base just there. But you can use offcuts of lead, or coins are helpful as well. You can super glue in a number of coins, and that adds a nice bit of weight to your base. I would recommend it, especially for this model here. You place him on a crater and he's leaning over, he's not going to tip there. Or if there's something underneath, a bit of terrain or something, then he can remain upright there even if he's at an angle, so I would recommend you do that. Then the actual flyer itself here, so sprayed red. One of the when I first started painting Blood Angels, especially the vehicles, I painted a Razorback first, and I was building up the red using a paintbrush, and I had to do one layer after the next, and it was starting to, I used to shade the whole thing and I had to repaint the red entirely. But now, if you check out the painting tutorials, especially the in-depth painting tutorials on the Plus channel, I'll show you how that I run the shade just in the cracks with it, and try and do it as neatly as possible, and then just use the red to go over the top to make the colour all united, and then just to do any repairs of where the washes have gone over. I try to leave the panelling as clean and as clear as possible, so that you get that original undercoat finish in red, that dragon red spray. And so I've got a nice smooth finish on this Stormraven Gunship here, but that's just using that process, just spraying on the red and then trying not to disrupt it too much, just being careful with the washes and so on there. But to see how it's done, it's a bow predator that's been painted in the in-depth painting tutorial on the Plus channel, so you can check that out and follow it along, and you can apply the exact same technique to this Stormraven Gunship just here. Just a bit of speed markings here where it's flying along. Wonder if you've noticed the mistake that I've made with this kit. It was pointed out a while ago, and I do need to correct it. Some of you may have seen it already. This is back to front here, so the flaps are facing the wrong way, so I do need to cut that off. And then that's me not paying enough attention to the instructions. It does look quite good like that, but it is actually back to front. It needs to go back round the other way. But painted the pilot separately, and then when all was finished, stuck the window on, and then these bits here, stuck them on separately as well. There's the detail underneath. So you can paint them up in this red style, or for Blood Angels, you can paint them up for the Death Company as well. They look quite cool. There's the servitor here as well, just behind the glass window there also. There it is. Did take a while to paint. But it's an incredible model. It really is cool. It's a decent flyer. Armed to the teeth, nice lot of firepower, and then a brilliant transport capacity as well. So we'll just push the model just to the side here as we take a look at the rules. It's quite a presence on the table, so it's going to attract attention. There's a few tactics as well I can share with you just to show how you can help this vehicle out. It's tough enough that it can stand up for itself pretty good. So, flyers then. Stormraven Gunship. So, just to give you the points cost here. So Stormraven Gunship starts at 192 points. You're straight into 200 points already. You're paying a fair bit for this. It is an expensive unit, and so ideally it's not a unit you want to throw away. Yes, it is going to be exposed because this is going to attract attention, especially if you're transporting a load of stuff inside of it. The opponent knows it's going to be deadly, and so expect them to try and deal with it. So, but it's tough enough to take a fair bit of punishment. So the Stormraven Gunship, it can move. It's broken down into a damage chart here, but between 20 and 45 inches on its best stat line there, and that's without advancing. You can advance with flyers as well, so it is really quick. It will go where you need it to go, pretty good. But then if you knock it down between 4 and 7 wounds, it goes 20 to 30 inches. That's not so far, but still you'll be able to cover most of the battlefield with that. And then 1 to 3 wounds, when it's in serious trouble, it can still go 20 inches, so it's going to be quick, no matter what kind of damage it takes. That's at 20 inches, plus you can make an advance with it, so it's fast enough. The strength 8, toughness 7, so it's as tough as a rhino, a predator, so it's tough as a main battle tank for the Space Marines. It's got 14 wounds, it's a lot of wounds on this thing, and then 3+ save. So yes, it is going to attract attention, but it can absorb a fair amount of damage. What also protects it is hard to hit. The opponent must subtract 1 from his hit rolls that target this model in the shooting phase. That does help, so there's a further -1 the opponent has to take into account as well. So it can be brought down, but it's tough enough, plenty of wounds, and it's hard to hit, so it's quite well protected. Well, talk about it now. The other tactic that I use, and most people do this with flyers, is in 8th edition you're deploying them on the board now. They're not flying in from reserve usually, so what you try and do is deploy it, because of its speed it get to where it needs to be pretty quick. Then I always try and deploy it as far back as possible, so usually along the back line somewhere, tucked in a corner. I often do that, just out of the way. Its weapons are out of range of most targets, but it doesn't matter, it can fly and position itself when your turn comes around. So on turn 1, if your opponent goes first and they try and target the Stormraven, if it's miles away, as far away as possible, then a lot of weapons aren't going to be in range, and only the longest range firepower. It just means the less shots that come towards that, the better, especially on turn 1, because you don't want to have that destroyed and then your contents are left stranded in your own deployment zone. So that's one trick, just hold it right back, and then you can pre-measure it, so you can check out your ranges for flying. But if you're going to go 45 inches, you're going to be where you need to be, no problem at all. So then, when you do move, you do want to position it where you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with it next turn? So you're not just flying it anywhere, especially if you're transporting something. You want to get close to the enemy as you can, anticipating that you're going to deploy, disembark 3 inches, then you move, and then a charge. So there's a fair bit of reach with it, but you want to aim to maybe be in the centre of the table, centre of the opponent's deployment zone, and then leave yourself as many options as possible, anticipating the opponent might try and pull back, pull away, and so on. So just don't hold back if you're going to fly right up, maybe even just an inch away from an enemy unit, doesn't matter. Just get up close, as close as you can, and then it means if you're shot down and destroyed and the units have to disembark, they're there right in the heart of the opponent's deployment zone, ready to cause trouble even if the transport's lost. So because now you have to disembark and then move the flyer away, so you've got to anticipate that. Yeah, there was another trick as well. Try and hold off deploying him for as long as possible, and that means you can watch where your opponent deploys his units, and perhaps some of his heavier firepower, you know whereabouts he may try and castle up somewhere, and that means you can deploy this in the exact opposite area. So if your opponent's in one corner of his deployment zone with his heavy guns, you could deploy in the far corner, or you could try and hide it if you can behind a piece of terrain. And again, just so you know where the heavy firepower is and you can position yourself away from it. I found that's usually a good idea as well. Just hold off deploying this one for as long as possible. And that's another trick to try and help keep it alive. Those two things, wise deployment and then trying to stay as far back as you can, it does help. So I'll just cover the special rules and we'll come to the weapons a bit later. So it's airborne, usual rules for that, supersonic. Yeah, the advanced move is 20 inches. So even if it's on 1 wound remaining, it can go 20 inches plus 20. It's a 40-inch move on that if it advances. So it's going to affect its shooting. It's not going to be able to shoot with its weapons, because these are all heavy weapons here, apart from the Hurricane Bolter. But if you need to be somewhere, you can pretty quick. It's hard to hit. It's hover jet. Before this model moves in movement phase, you can declare it will hover. This is an extra thing this thing has. Its movement characteristic becomes 20. It becomes like a flying tank until the end of the phase, and it loses the airborne, hard to hit and supersonic abilities until the beginning of your next movement phase. So you may say, well, what's the point in doing that? It just means that you can slow right up, because your movement is 20 to 45. So your minimum is 20. You have to go 20. And then you're affected by your move, turning and so on. Each time the model moves, you pivot up to 90 and then you move in a straight line. But here, if you go into hover jet mode, you just get 20-inch move and you can turn and move wherever you want. So a lot more flexible, but you don't gain the those hard to hit supersonic and so on. Crash and burn if you roll 6, explode if you die and there's trouble. Paralyzing machine spirit. This model does not suffer the penalty to hit rolls moving and firing heavy weapons. That's a brilliant bonus. Most of his weapons, virtually all of them, are heavy weapons. It would be devastating if you're on -1 to hit, but it's not. So 3s to hit makes it a well-armed flyer and nice reliable shooting. Those 3s to hit, it really is important. Very, very helpful. Transport capacity is excellent. 12 Blood Angels infantry models and 1 Dreadnought as well. So you can carry a Dreadnought in this thing. Each jump pack or Terminator model takes the place of 2. So we'll look at some combinations, or the combination I go for in just a moment. It cannot transport Primaris models or Redemptor Dreadnought, so you can't transport those at all. So this model may replace its twin assault cannon and with a twin las cannon or twin heavy plasma cannon. So out of those 3 options, I go for the las cannon. I've always gone for this combination. The philosophy behind this is I want heavy firepower to destroy tanks or monsters that are a big threat. So say the opponent's got some deadly heavy firepower in the form of a tank. I want this thing to be able to hunt tanks and to destroy them. So las cannons is the best option there. It's nasty weapon, strength 9. It's going to cause trouble. -3 and d6 damage. So 2 shots from that I think is the best. I believe it's 50 points to take that. Just to confirm. Yeah, 50 points. And on top, so now looking at about 240 points so far. So then continue on with that theme. I have other units that are able to do anti-infantry, bow predators and so on. They can clear hordes of infantry out of the way. But for this thing, I want it to hunt vehicles and monsters. So nasty weapon on here, and then it goes well with the missiles, and then tank hunting ability. The twin multi-melter here as well. Great thing about the flyer is I can get it to that deadly 12-inch range for the nastier damage, because it's so manoeuvrable. I can move around very quick, and so I think that suits that as well. So you may replace its twin heavy bolter, which is, I can't see much point in taking that. You have to pay so many points for a unit, and just to give it twin heavy bolters, can't see any point in doing that. The Typhoon missile launcher is an option. It's similar in a way to the las cannon, but it's 50 points for that. It's okay, but I think the twin multi-melter is nastier. You're paying, I think, 4 points more. Twin multi-melter, so you're going to pay an extra 4 points, but for that, yes, you lose a bit of range. Yeah. No, like the Typhoon missile launcher is brilliant for range. Why worry about range? This thing is going to get within range, and so I'm not worried about the 48-inch range. Heavy 2, you're going to get those 2 shots. That's the same as the twin multi-melter. Strength 8, that's the same. It's only -2 though. Twin multi-melter is -4. And d6 damage is the same, but if you get to within half range with the twin multi-melter, you roll 2d6, discard the lowest for your damage. It just makes it nastier if you get within 12, and so for that reason, I do go for the twin multi-melter. Really want to make a mess of the opponent's vehicles or monsters, whatever it might be, and so I want to take advantage of as much heavy firepower as possible in this thing. So The idea is that, say it cracks open a transport, and then the models inside are able to charge the transport, something like that. So I usually aim to give it the heavy firepower. So you can take 2 Hurricane Bolters. So Hurricane Bolter, 10 points, says you can take 2, so for 20 points you can add them on. They go on the sides here. I haven't modelled those on. I wish I had, but it does look cool with them, but I haven't got them on there. That's an option. I've got some spare points, the Blood Angels, I can add that on to that for a bit of anti-infantry. Great thing about 8th edition is you can split fire now, so I could fire my heavy weapons at a heavy target, and then the Storm Bolters, the Hurricane Bolters, they can fire at softer targets, no problem. So 54 points for the twin multi-melter. So now you've got 4 nasty shots coming from this vehicle. And then the Storm Strike missile launchers. 2 Storm Strike missile launchers. So yeah, it's a nasty enough. It is a nasty weapon. It's 21 points. You've got to pay for that twice. So 42 points to add that on, but for that you're getting similar in a way to the twin las and the multi-motors. They match up quite nicely. Range 72, brilliant range. Heavy 1. Remember, this has been doubled here. So it's heavy 2 lots of 1. Strength 8, -3. That's really good. And then straight 3 damage. That's nasty damage there as well. So Storm Strike missiles, nasty stuff. So now there's 6 shots coming from this thing. All anti-tank. Nasty amount of damage. So on a good round, if you hit well and wound well, you stand a good chance of destroying your average tank in 1 round of firepower. So it's pretty nasty. I don't want to be in a situation where I've equipped him for anti-infantry and then my army's struggling to take out the enemy tanks and end up firing his stuff, his anti-infantry stuff at tanks, trying to pick up wounds here and there. Just it's a clear-cut objective for this thing is anti-tank, anti-monster. It's armed to the teeth with the heavy guns. If you add all of that up, it comes to 338 points. So is a lot. You know, Predator Annihilators about 210. A bit less now with FAQs, about 200 points. So you're paying a fair bit more. But for that, you get more weaponry. You're getting all of the speed, and then there's more wounds and so on as well. So we've covered that then. It's a unit to be looked after in the game, and then a couple of those tricks that I talked about there, holding back, staying out of range when you deploy, that kind of thing, making use of terrain if you can, and then just being wise as possible, and then when you do need to go in for the kill, then making a good job of it. And then when it does move up, it's not just transporting, doing nothing as it moves across the board. It's a gunship. It's armed to the teeth with heavy guns. So it's a unit that's well worth looking after. So that's the combinations. We'll roll up some dice a bit later. We'll test the firepower of this thing. It needs to be good firepower because, and a lot of shots, because usually you're not going to have units nearby because it's flown right up the board. Usually you're not going to have units nearby like captains and so on granting rerolls. So you want it to have enough firepower to look after itself. The combination that I run for the Blood Angels, it's an aggressive unit, so moving out, trying to get within that 12-inch melter range, multi-melter range, to get the damage, and then trying to at the same time get close as well in order to be ready on the next turn to disembark, move and charge with the units that I have. So the combination I currently have is Terminators. So Assault Terminators. I run 5 of them. That takes up, they're 2 slots each. That's 10 slots out of 12 used up. And then for my Blood Angels list, I also take a Sanguinary Priest inside the transport as well. He's there to heal wounds and restore to life lost models, just to add a bit of durability and to that unit there. So they get stuck in fighting and then sort of repair them as I go along with him. And then also with 1 transport capacity left, I have a Chaplain, a regular Space Marine Chaplain. He grants reroll hits for these, so another HQ just there. So all of that fits inside there just nice, and the idea is that this goes up the board, firing its weapons, covering fire, clearing a path, and then positioning itself ready to let these guys out and get stuck in to the opponent's forces within their deployment zone. My current list, I don't have the points for it, but the slots available there, I have changed the list around. That's for a Dreadnought as well. I think it's a good idea because you've then got one nasty close combat unit followed by a second. So that gives you double your options. If you do stay alive, you get to opponent's deployment zone, it becomes your turn, you're ready to cause havoc, then you've got two options available. You can send him after one target, send them after another, and that's double the impact. So I would be in favour of using that transport capacity just there. But fully loaded up, 550, 750, 800, 800 points of stuff. So well, you got to be careful. You can't be too cautious and waste the opportunity. But at the same time, got to concentrate on what you're doing. So holding right back, precious cargo here, getting them into positions. Objective number one, and then probably the most important objective. So holding right back, let him loose. You can zoom right up the table, 45 inches on turn one, into position, and then let loose with some nasty firepower. It's not a -1 to hit with our heavy weapons as well. It's nice reliable firepower coming through with that. And then try and stay alive, and then disembark and cause havoc and trouble with the contents inside. The other loadouts you can do is like a Def Company combination, so Def Company Dreadnought and then a unit of Def Company there as well. Nice way of transporting them across the board. Also another nasty assault unit. Obviously you probably want to paint him up Def Company style. Would look very, very cool to have the Def Company Stormraven and the units inside as well. So that's another combination you can do. Last combinations talked about tactics, covered the points, costs and upgrades. By all means, if you have your favourite combination, maybe you do go anti-infantry and take the twin assault cannon and so on, and you do find it effective. We'll leave your own hints and tips and your own battlefield experience. I go for heavy tank or heavy anti-tank, anti-monster. If you agree, then you can say that in the comment section as well. Or maybe you do for a combination of both. Just share that in the comment section below. Then other Blood Angels players can read your comments. Perhaps those that are looking to get into Blood Angels, then they can read the comments as well. So here's our crash test Rhino here. Let's say we have moved 45 inches up the table. Stormraven gunship comes hurtling in, getting ready to disembark next turn. So they want to take out this transport vehicle here. So is it enough firepower? I'll give it a couple of goes just to illustrate what potentially could happen. So let's say you can split fire however you want. Let's just say it's really important that we destroy this transport. We want to get the contents out of it and take that model out. So and maybe pick up first blood or something. So each of the rockets is one shot each. So 2 rockets there for the Storm Strike missiles. 3s to hit. 2 hits, a good start. 3s to wound. And 1's got through. And it's a 6-up save. And yes, a save's been made. So you see what can happen? We need plenty of options here. So now twin las cannon. There's 2 hits. This is good. 3s to wound. Yep. And then it's -3, so 6-up save. Surely not. It's rolled at 6, so not so good here. And then the twin multi-melter. That's hit. And that's wounded twice. It's -4. It goes straight through. So I'm glad we took that upgrade. So rolling 2d6, choose the best. It's a 5, and then 6, which is I'll choose a 6, which is 11, which is destroyed. Oh dear, just about. But that's what I'm saying. Take all the heavy weapons you can, because some of them are going to fail to hit, fail to wound, and so on. So you might think, oh, 6 is a bit overkill, isn't it? But it's not. You're anticipating. Well, if you're logically about it, you've got 6 options. You're anticipating missing with 2, failing to wound with, say, 1 or 2, and then 2 or 3 results coming through. So really you do need the 6 there to stand an average to good chance of destroying a tank. So that's the way I've looked at it. So I just armed the whole thing to the teeth. That was a pretty poor round, and we still managed to take that out. So I'll have another go. Start the multi-melters this time. One of them's missed. And it's failed to wound, so we're going to rely on the las cannons now. One of them's missed. Freeze through wound, this is terrible. And then the rockets, double one. So, fluff that one. So, we'll give it another go here. So, we'll go for las cannons. 2 hits. Freeze for wounds. Yes. This is good. 6s to try and block this. No, 2d6 damage. All of a sudden, there's trouble. And that's a really good result. That's 8 scored. So, las cannons have done their work. Rockets now, see if we can finish it off. 1 hit. 1 wound. No. We'll have to go down to the multi-melters. Both hits. This is good. Freeze for wounds. Yeah, go straight through. 2d6. Choose the best. That's the 6 I'll choose. And the 5, 11. God, multi-melters again. Twin multi-melter, if they hit and wound and you get within 12, the target's in big trouble. So I highly recommend this. The last thing you want in a game is to be lacking in heavy hitting firepower. Most armies can keep infantry, small arms fire running to the end of the game, but if you start running out of anti-tank stuff, then you are in trouble. So it's definitely an incentive to put that on the Stormraven for sure. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you there, just an exhibition of the firepower. So a fair amount of the time you're going to cause trouble, and on a good round you destroy a target. So it's got the durability there to continue to survive and fire each turn, and then obviously with its transport capacity as well. I can't see, there's cheaper ways of getting that firepower. If you're thinking of taking this on its own, I would take advantage of the transport option. You can put a very cheap unit inside, but just to take advantage of it, tactically it is helpful to have a unit inside, and a dreadnought perhaps as well is a good idea. But that's the tactics and showcase then for the Stormraven Gunship. By all means, leave your comments and feedback, your own combinations. If there's any other tactics that you know that can help keep this thing alive, little tricks and so on, then share that in the comment section as well. We can learn how to keep these things flying because they really are an important unit to have in your Space Marines force. But there it is. If you like the way this one's been painted up, just check out the Plus channel. There's the in-depth painting tutorial for the Blood Angels on there, and loads of exclusive battle reports featuring Blood Angels as well. That's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.